Moving on, we will now have the leadership session. So before we get started, I would like to inform everyone that every session will be given only 45 minutes, considering that we have so many speakers flying across India, flying from all places in India. So we would like to stick to the timing. So remember to keep up the timing. So to get started with the session 1 of leadership, I would like to call upon stage the following dignitaries. Dr. Sanjai George, the CEO, Manjilas Food Tech Private Limited, Double Horse. Can we cheer him up, please, with a big round of applause? The next person would be Mr. Nishanth Chandran, the founder and CEO, GFM Retail Private Limited. Mr. Ankit Agrawal, partner and director, Mysore Perfumery House, MDPH. Mr. Rajaraman Sundaram, business head, Colors Tamil, Viacom 18. And last but not the least, joining them would be Mr. Amin, Lakhani, CEO, Mindshare South Asia. Two of them would be joining in a short while, I believe. So meanwhile, we'll get started with the first session leadership. Mr. Amin Lakhani, the CEO, Mindshare South Asia, will take over.
Hello and welcome, and a very good morning to all of you. It's a delight to be here in Chennai to attend this South India Summit. I see a lot of people, known faces, friends, all people who have been my friends and family for such a long time. So it's quite exciting, really, to be here. There are a couple of people, I think, who've got delayed, and what we will do is, in the interest of time, like Madam has advised us that she's not going to give us any extension of time. So we'll start the conversation, and I'll request my fellow colleagues over here on the stage to kind of, over the next couple of minutes, introduce themselves and tell us about your company and your work.
Yeah, thank you, Amin. Good morning to you all. It's always better to start the first session because there will be a lot of people who would not be settling down, so you will get away with whatever you say. It's better than afternoon lunch session. First of all, a very big thanks to Shankar and his team for giving this privilege to attend this great conclave. This is the first time I am attending this. I am already overwhelmed with this enormity. In fact, the Honorable Minister launched the summit. It was really a great start. About myself, I am Sanjai George. I am the CEO of Manjilas Food Tech Private Limited. This is a 62-plus-year-old organization, and we promote the brand called Double Horse, which stands for Good Food for All. Manjilas Food Tech Private Limited was a family-run organization, and 2 years back I joined this. I am personally from the Aditya Birla family. I have been with Aditya Birla family for a very long time. But currently, we are into a transformation from a family-run business to a business house. And we are proud to say that we are servicing 30-plus countries, 22-plus states. And even during the tumultuous period of Corona, we had an exceptional growth of 30% and growing very, very strong. Thank you for all those who acknowledged it. Always see. A clap is always a motivation. It says that you are talking some sense into it. So if I can hear a good round of applause, that will motivate me.
I think, Shankar, I need to change the job. So I think there's a better moderator over here. I can be the participant. Right? Okay. Thank you so much for a wonderful and energetic introduction. Over to you, Raja. Can I call you Raja?
Yeah, you can call me Raja. My name is Rajaraman. I head the Tamil entertainment business of Viacom 18 called Colors Tamil. We're a new entrant in this market. We're a 4-year-old brand. Seen through some challenging times from the time we've launched. We had this NTO 1 and 2 COVID waves, and amidst all this, we've had a great roller coaster ride. So I'm assuming in the next 45 minutes, I'll get to share some of my learnings, which will come handy for a lot of you. Yeah. And what we are attempting to do in this journey, which will kind of help everyone. On my personal front, I'm a chartered accountant who was a CFO for the longest time in life when a midlife crisis of sorts made me reevaluate what I should be doing in life. And I kind of pivoted into listening to stories and becoming a storyteller, which is a massive shift laterally. And I'm quite enjoying what I'm doing. And some of that will also play out in the conversations that will ensue.
It's such an interesting thing that I'll hear. that CFOs are typically left brain oriented. Imagine a left brain guy running a right brain job, and that's so fabulous and interesting to really hear. Uh, Coming back to you, sir, right? I think CPG or FMCG, all these new age companies have actually rebranded FMCG companies and they call them CPG, and therefore now it is the way it is. But what I've read is that you also have a lot of ready to eat, instant breakfast and all of that. Now that is a lot of technology required. And there would be some amount of inspiration that would have come, because in India, even in my house, if I go and talk to my elders and all of that, there is this entire thing about, I will cook it the classical way, I will cook it, the right way, the longer way, right? And to think about instant breakfast being a big thing in India many years ago, what was that insight? How did you come across? And maybe that idea really flourished over a period of time. So I'm really curious to understand that. Maybe you want to spend some time more.
So even for me, this is a surprise when I joined Double R's. In fact, I've come from a very long stint with Aditya Birla, and I thought that this is a small company, because we always get this wrong notion when someone is based out of Kerala or a small state. But this organization, the most surprising factor is it's a very professional organization. And why they withstood all this weather of 62 year plus is because they always adapt to the changes that happens quite often. Adaptability is the key in an organization like Double R's. So innovation is a factor, and that goes very deep inside the organization, and every new changes have been adopted. There is a very strong R&D team. So to answer your question, I would like to give you a small example of a product called Parippu Pradaman. For all those Malayalis who know this product, it is a payasam. This payasam is a very tricky one. I am not a cook myself, but what I have understood is that you need to extract coconut milk, which takes 1.5 hours, and then you will be doing this Parippu Pradaman. So it is a very time-consuming process. So what we did was, we were trying to get it in 15 minutes as an instant Parippu Pradaman product without sacrificing any of the traditional values attached to it. So to cut the long story short, when we launched this product, and we always have this bad habit of giving to our brand ambassador, who is Mamta Mohandas, at the last minute only. When she comes for launch, we will give her a sample. Actually, she shared it with her mother. And her mother said that, who cooked this super Parippu Pradaman? Somebody must have done a lot of work to extract this coconut milk. So that is the kind of R&D we do. But the idea behind all this instant food is because currently we have mostly nucleus families. As per our understanding, previously Indian families consist of minimum 5 per family. Now it is only 2 or 3. So the Indian family is shrinking. Both the people are breadwinners of the family. So it has become a very mandatory thing to come out with something that will make the experience of cooking an entertainment for the household. Rather than eating outside, we would like everything to be instantaneous. But at the same time, what we also keep in mind is that the traditional value should never be sacrificed. So we keep all the ingredients of the traditional value. Even now, we have listed around 10 items, which will make things easier for the family. So the idea behind it is to make it easy for the household, and also ensuring that everyone cooks. And even our tagline resonates, that we say that, can we cook? That is the tagline that we have. So hope I have answered what you asked.
Yeah, brilliantly answered. I think what I hear you say is that there is a role that consumer insighting and changing consumer preferences have played, right? Given the time from joint families, larger families to nuclear families, and how requirement of saving time or lesser effort was critical to do that, right? So that's the first thing that I'm hearing. The second thing that I clearly hear is, use of technology. Even to keep our traditions alive, I think technology has played a significant amount of a role, and how adopting that has really helped you be where you are. So very, very incredible. Raja, coming to you, and also a very interesting topic. I can go on for hours talking to you, because that's what we do in our daily life, right? There was a time when there was a sun, and there were others. We still have a sun, and now there are significant others. This journey of others to significant others in Tamil GEC, we just want the listeners over here to understand what really took us to this journey.
Morning, sir. By sun, of course, you mean Sun TV network. It was synonymous with television in this part of the world. For the longest time, people wouldn't even ask if you have a cable connection. The popular way to address it, do you have a Sun TV connection? And there were times when one would do focus group discussions in places like Kanjipuram, and you would have a respondent say that I can skip a meal, but I cannot be without Sun TV. So that is the setting, that's the power of the brand. And furthermore, re-emphasizing that this is a business built on habit formation. So there's a brand, there's a promise, there's a first mover advantage, and how brands have remained committed to their promise to the consumer. So in every market, you will see the ones who started early having a significant market share, because by nature, the business is habit-driven. So in this, again, as an industry observer, not as someone representing a young channel, to answer your question, we've seen a significant transformation in the landscape to a dominant viewership share, which used to be 90% at one time, to a 50% now, and you have a challenger brand, Vijay TV, which has emerged quite strong, which is again a more than 25-year-old brand. It has taken quite a long time. But what has changed is the ability of newer players to foresee the changing patterns. So it's very strange that your takeaways from a totally unconnected industry to the industry that I am in, where technology and changing consumer preferences in terms of their lifestyle has played a role in shaping the products that are offered. There's something very similar. There have been various events in a longer timeline, the most recent being COVID, which has kind of changed the way people consume content. So the ability of challenger brands to anticipate the change and stay relevant is what is making the playing ground a little more level than where it was 20 years ago. If that answers.
Just to build on that, and just one more question onto that. Would you like to share with us any significant insight that you unearthed during COVID that you leveraged and that's worked for you? I think it's very, very curious.
It's a very relevant question. So there were 2-3 key takeaways that came out in the course of what happened with COVID and people spending too much time at home, and the way men turning to chefs and men having better appreciation of women. So I will step one step back before getting into COVID, into setting a larger context of what we as a brand are aspiring to do, and it will kind of quickly circle back to the question that you asked. Our belief, and this is belief at a larger level across the world, that women coming into mainstream across industries are going to make a difference to the next 20-25 years of solving world's problems. This is a larger context in which we are operating. So we're seeing a lot of discussion around diversity and inclusion, about getting women into the workforce, and not a token service, but at a larger level, how Fortune 500 companies should have more women CEOs, how politics should have. And we've seen a lot of success that when women have broken the proverbial glass ceiling, they've really made a difference, be it some Greta Thunberg who's in environmental activities, or Malala, or Jacinta Ardern. So you'll find a lot of such examples, some even closer home, where women have actually made, even sports, Mary Com, and you have so many such stories that when they are able to get out of shackles built in their minds, it's a society thing. People talk about, in 18th century, there was slavery and women were treated as assets. That mindset may have changed significantly, but has it changed enough to solve the world's problems? So the world is going through a lot of change, COVID-led, both medicine, various other industries. So the larger belief is women coming into the fore is going to redefine how we are going to solve the problems for the next 20-25 years. Okay. So in this larger context is where we operate, and our learnings are COVID specific, that people are seeking light, humor-oriented content vis-a-vis regressive themes. For the longest time, TV entertainment in particular used to peddle a lot of regressive themes, and nothing sells like, a negative news, even in the news sector. Very seldom are positive stories put out. But COVID changed that perspective. Because there was so much negativity surrounding, you were losing your friends, relatives, there was shortage, you had money. So the key takeaway was people were looking for light-hearted content in general as an underlying theme, as opposed to regressive themes. This was one key takeaway, which we incorporated in our content proposition. Okay. Second was the need for empowering positive themes in general, again as opposed to women being treated in a particular way, to women seeking emancipation and making a difference and solving problems, not as bizarre as sending a rocket to Jupiter or anything, but kind of solving for how do I, some fuel crisis, how do I resolve, or how do I find a cure for tribals who don't have access to healthcare, or, education, in their own small way. So these are two big takeaways that has influenced our thought to the stories that we are putting out now.
Amin, if you don't mind, sorry, I'm jumping in because
Sure.
this is a
Welcome.
very interesting topic. In fact, the greater COVID insight is that while it might sound idealistic, it proved that there are opportunities in adverse situations. That is point number one. Point number two is, while we all talk a lot about how we have to unleash our real potential and how we have to perform as per our real potential, actually COVID has ensured that we all became more adaptable to the condition, and it revealed the real us in us all. So it revealed the real character of us and ensured that we perform as per that situation, which was very challenging. We all took decisions that we have never taken in the past. We all took calls just on a second, and we all understood that time is the essence here. So in a way, COVID brought us the different us, and it also ensured that through that learning, we really plan in future with a much better nimbleness, which was missing, according to me. That's my insight.
That's a very brilliant build, Doctor Sir. That during a challenging time, it really actually makes us think very, very hard. And perhaps at the other end of the challenge lies, that silver line and the solve that all of us have come out through. So thank you so much for that build. And we have one more participant join in. Sir, what we've done is that we've started waiting for you and would like to you to introduce yourself, and then we can, bring you into the conversation.
Sure. Good morning, everyone. My name is Nishanth. We run a brand called Tender Cuts, which is an omni-channel meat startup based out of Chennai. So we are present in Chennai, Hyderabad, and Bangalore. So we are market leaders in Chennai. We are also market leaders in Hyderabad, which is just 3 months back is when we become market leaders. And Bangalore is something we entered 9 months back, and we are already growing. Almost we are doubling every quarter. So that's where we are, and happy to be here. Apologies for the delay. I estimated the traffic to be different, but it was 15 minutes more than what I estimated. Extremely sorry for that.
Not an issue, not an issue. Thank you so much for being candid, and happy to have you in the panel. I was thinking, how much will I talk to two people? 3 makes a company. So I just thought that. So thank you so much for joining, Nishanth. Nishanth, one important question is that your task at hand, and with the 3 markets and the 3 successes that you have seen, of course you've seen success, and my question will be more, from reflecting back, is that there's always a challenge to create a category, and that is exactly what you're doing. You're shifting people from a completely unorganized sector, many a times also not looked upon, very well from a conversation perspective, or from a discussion perspective, to making it an household brand. Please tell us about the journey, and what is it that you're fighting, on a daily basis, because that is something that all of us would want to take home today. That how do you convert a generic, category or a conversation into making a corporate or a brand out of it? Right?
So our journey, sorry. Our journey has been quite different. We started in 2016, and when we started in 2016, I come from a different experience. I was running a payments company before. I sold that company, and then I decided what else to do, and then I started this because it was my own problem to solve. So I was not that person traditionally been into branding, advertising. When you run a B2B payments company, all you do is just go to conferences and sell stuff, right? I mean, all these advertising, branding, and what I understood from my marketing team is whenever you spend money, half of it works and we don't know which half it is. That is what they said to me. And I was shocked. And, the team was asking crores of rupees in terms of marketing budget. So this year, almost it's in a large triple digit, right? So that was not me in 2016. But it was a great learning experience. And I always felt that when you start something from unorganized to organized and you build something, it's going to be easy. It was easy and it was tough. At least until we reached 100 crore of turnover, we never spent marketing money at all. Because for two reasons. One is we knew that there is a segment of customers who would definitely change us, and they will come. So the early adopters, as we all call it. And when you change from unorganized to organized, we were very clear that we wanted to build a supply chain company and a technology company selling meat, not a meat company having supply chain and technology. That's a very different way to look at the business. And the reason why we had to take that is, you're not just building a brand, you are building the entire supply chain, because there is nothing there. The farmers are in one spectrum of things, and we have processors who are different, and then you have the butcher shops who are competing with us. So it was almost like you had to go back and start building, and it took us quite a bit of time. But even though our revenues, things took some time to build, but it did not take so much time to scale. So everything just worked out in one ad campaign. So we did couple of ad campaigns. So one was regional, and one was more from giving that perspective. The third was the recent one was with Prakash Raj. So the challenges what we always faced is, how do you communicate? Because we were in this educate and grow sector. Whereas the first 100, 150 crores came out because you have early adopters. But how do you go beyond that? That segmentation of users. And we use a lot of data to understand, because we are a direct to consumer. Unlike FMCG, we have all the customer data. We know when they are buying, why they are not buying, where they are buying. We do a lot of cohort analysis to understand that if I get 100 customers, are they coming and repeat and buying those things? We look into so much of data. So what was our clear understanding was, this business requires a lot of educating and selling. Whereas the government says the meat has to be in 0 to 4 degrees. Now 95% of even Chennai does not sell in 0 to 4 degrees, except for guys like us, right? So the government also needs to do their part. So we went into that educate and sell. Now when you do that educate and sell, how do you communicate in 10 seconds was our biggest challenge. Because when somebody knows the category already, for example, like double horse, it's very clear that what that category is. You just need to build more awareness. But in our case, it's not just awareness. You have to say why. And you're also trying to place it a mass premium product. Not like not lower than that. We tried all these things. That lower pricing and all these things is the last man standing. It's like shooting yourself down. So I don't think it's sustainable. So we had to do all that. So biggest challenge was communication for us.
And what I'm hearing you say is that category building and shift of mindset towards a brand, preference is a far more hard working job than pushing a brand in a known category. If at all, I would hear that.
Yeah, I think that's one part of it. Second is, since this is a repeat business, etc., you're also changing behavior from downloading the app, and that's the reason we opened stores, and then from the stores. So behavior change is not just from the product from perspective, even the buying experience is something you have to change.
Right.
So today, when we started, we were at 45% was from the app or online. 50% was from our stores, but today 85% is from our app. So that's the significant change which we have brought in the last, I would say, 4 or 5 years.
Okay. Okay, wonderful, wonderful. More on that in some time. Now, one common theme, one comment he made, sir. He said it is very easy for CPG, but it's very difficult for him. And I just want to bring this question to you and to just educate us that how easy or hard it is for you to continue building a brand when you're fighting behemoths and global powerhouses in brand building. Running a company out of South India. So that's one part. Secondly, is that he also mentioned the use of data. And I'm throwing this question back to you that how much do you use data in order to go ahead after your consumers? And, what is the data practice in your company and what's your observation about it? But let's go back to the first question and hear this out.
One is I do agree with Nishanth partly because it's a perishable item and the biggest challenge is the logistics part of it. In fact, to reach this item on time to the right customer, and if it doesn't reach, then definitely the product perish. So there is always a bigger challenge for Nishanth in that sense. But the second part I don't agree because it is not easy building a CPG brand also. If you look at Double R's as a brand, as I was kept on telling, it is a 62-year-old legacy and there is an image attached to it. And the image was so strong, and I am being very honest, but please don't quote me, my promoter should not listen to this, that we got a very wrong notion that we are a premium brand. When I joined the organization, the first thing I asked is, what is so premium about it? You get puttu podi, appam, idiyappam, patri everywhere. Even in a tattukada also you get this. So what is so premium about it? There is nothing premium about it. So first thing that I as a CEO wants to change, because it was a tectonical change for me also, moving from one MNC to an organization like this, is to make everyone believe that we have to get into a new level wherein we have to become more popular. Our reach for the brand has to be really enormous so that what we aspire, we reach. Double R's was a brand that was self-content with whatever it was doing. There was no doubt that it stands for quality, but the requirement was to build it to the next level as a popular brand. So the challenge that I faced was to break that price barrier. Because end of the day, while we have 100 plus products and 200 plus SKUs, most of these products are somewhere or other available, and the USPs of these products are very, very minimal. So it became a challenge to how to make these products different from the other products. So one way is cooking method. Now cooking method is not easy unless until you buy that product, you will not know about it. So to reach them. And the second one is the price. Now today I can proudly say that Double R's is the lowest priced brand in the entire India in that sector. While you said that what is your challenges being in South India or in Kerala, see, we don't see us as a company like that. As I was telling, we are now servicing 30 plus countries, and export is a very big part of our business. So in our own way, in our own space, we are developing exponentially, and 30% plus sales increase in the last 2 years is a testimony of that. And apart from that, how we think that all our efforts are being recognized is that we have been very recently chosen as the iconic brand of the year by BSc MSc Summit. We have also got the Business Innovator of the Award in the CPG Leadership Summit, and above all, we got the Sales Ka Badshah Award from Amazon India. So these are certain testimonies that we think that, okay, we are going in the right path. Yeah, we have got a bigger, reach we have got a bigger height to reach, no doubt about it. But at the same time, we are going in the right path. But the challenges still exist, and there are brands that comes without a plan, with due respect to them. Even recently, one of the very established brand in Kerala has been up for sales. That is because you need to have a long-range strategic plan. You cannot do everything only based on short-term gains, which we all know as industry captains. So the point here is, any brand, be it perishable brand that Mr. Nishanth is owning, or be it Double Oz, which has got a 62-plus-year-old history, it is very difficult because the people, it is the generation of Y and millennials, so they want everything new and they want anything that is different. And the second part, I hope I'm not boring all of you with a lot of talk. Anyhow, please bear with me. The second part is on the data. Now, there is no, this is a no-brainer. I mean, we also plan everything on our data. So what we did is we brought in someone called Bisam. So with Bisam, we told them that what is that we require in the market. So previously, there was no focus on line cut, bill cut, who is our real targeted customer. We just have a brand ambassador. Once again, with due respect, she was an actress who was nearing almost 55, 56. So we want to bring in someone who is new. Now today, though we have Mamta Mohandas, who is the young version. So we got Mamta Mohandas in her previous brand ambassador's place. Now we are thinking about a bigger actor who can have a pan-India appeal. So one side we knew, I mean, at least this is my personal opinion, you may not agree with me. I don't think that the brand ambassador is going to stand for the brand, but at times you need to know play for the gallery. So we are going to bring in a bigger brand. All this is based on the data that we gather. People still think that why as a 20-year-old or 21-year-old I should cook? No, even my daughter, who is doing a master's in clinical psychology based out of Bangalore, she doesn't cook at all. So we are trying to make it entertaining for the younger generation. I think I've taken so much time. That's why you are interrupting. Anyhow.
No. Please continue. No, sir. Please continue. I was just trying to realize that I am not, currently acknowledging the commentary and all of that. So coming to you, Raja, data happens to be a common theme across all categories that we are talking about, whether it is CPG or whether it is category building, and I'm unable to place it at this point in time. Where do I put tender cuts into? Whether it is, it's definitely consumer good, but I was just thinking, and it is packaged consumer good, but whether it is FMCG or no is something that I will come to you and ask you. It's currently a D2C brand, is the way you would want to put it. I am very curious to know, and this I think at the cost of sounding repetitive, as to what kind of data practices does your channel follow, and please tell us more about interesting data sources that you kind of leverage to really make great storytelling come alive.
Yeah, thank you so much. So as we speak for the linear side of our business, traditionally you had this focus group discussions which would give a qualitative insight on what people, how are they responding to your content, what is it that they like, that they don't like. So there was this whole research ongoing process, qualitative, which would give you a lot of insights. Then you also had this weekly BARC data, which would give you a perspective of what India watches, supposedly, quote unquote. Now, we overlay that with what's been happening at least in the last 5 years, like how everyone is leveraging data to get a better understanding of consumer preferences in real time. While both the erstwhile methods have a lag and your ability to internalize and respond, there is a gap. So where TV, the linear business moved towards was, how do we start utilizing the social media listening tools? So unsolicited, there are people who are watching your content and in real time commenting against your social media posts. So that was an untapped and a disruptive, no-cost way to understand what is it that people want. Because even these research at some point get diluted in that they know who is it that they're addressing, and therefore you have to discount a lot of what they say or even to distill the insights. So social media listening tools have really helped linear broadcasters like us of what they're saying in YouTube, Facebook, and there are a host of Mojo and so many other Moj and many other platforms where your content goes out and people are responding. So you get the sentiment, the response to things like costume, the cast, the plots, every single aspect that is relevant for storytelling. This is on the linear side, but it is important that I mention how are we morphing as a company, and most companies are. Disney would have mentioned D2C as their preference going forward, where they believe direct to consumer, where linear is all appointment here, on demand, at your convenience, no middlemen. So this is where the grounds are shifting, and COVID has accelerated that shift. So we are at a inflection point where entertainment consumption is moving from linear to non-linear. It is still in transition. It's not that I'm sounding death knell for linear. It is still relevant, but the numbers are showing that there's a shift, the recent IPL numbers or the TV viewership numbers. So it is in this context I want to bring in an important insight that I have. I have access to Voot, which is our OTT platform's data. So when we started looking at data for Voot, and that's our focus area for the next 5 years, where we start thinking digital first and sweating it out on linear. As a new brand, there's no point trying to take another 20 years to make a business case when the preferences are changing. So our thought is also shifting digital first in our content proposition. And that is where a very important insight, I'm sure most of you will be aware, but there's this tool called Mixed Panel that is available to us. I'm sure there are many such panels. In real time, I know who is consuming what. We have a wealth of data, demographic, economic, geographic. How was it acquired? Organically, have they come to the platform, or is it through a performance marketing tool? Wealth of information. It's impossible to, convert the data to meaningful information. There's a wealth of information in real time. At what time people... It's really insightful. At 9 a.m. in Tamil Nadu, people watch catch-up content.
Yeah.
It is very unique to Tamil Nadu, whereas in India, it could be closer to 2 p.m. So a lot of data is now available in real time, because catch-up content is what is made available on Voot Tamil as of now. So we're seeing what kind of content is appealing to viewers who are consuming it on our app, which is an AVOD platform. Predominantly in India, consumption is still on the free side. So there's a wealth of information that's being made available in real time, and which episodes, how much minutes they spend, when they log in, when they log out. It clearly gives you data on to know your consumer better.
Right.
Now, is that representative of the linear TV? The initial hypothesis was there is an India which is in the rural and Gujarati or Uttar Pradesh mein. Are they going to watch your app on their phone and comment on it on Twitter? To utter surprise, and this is a 5-year-old data, that stint I had with Star prior to joining here, with 95% accuracy, the feedback that came from social media tools exactly mirrored the so-called making 5 housewives sit and ask the same questions. To a point where the company decided to junk FGDs and said, I will use this data, which is real-time, unsolicited, in fueling decisions for content.
Right.
So that's the shift that's happening in the aspect of leveraging data to make meaningful decisions in the content offering.
Correct. I just want to move into the next theme, and perhaps the last theme in terms of the work area, is that across all our categories, whether it's D2C, whether it's GCTV, or whether it's FMCG, distribution is, the powerhouse that were being able to build brands at one point in time. It was on the back of distribution, whether you call the giants in CPG, or whether you call, the sons of the world. Perhaps had an early mover advantage, got the distribution right, invested over there, locked in that distribution, went in over there. And in your case, distribution is the unlock perhaps that you're working towards, right? Because it's a completely unorganized category. How are you looking at that? And given technology is helping all of us, including across all sectors, to democratize, this entire play on distribution, right? So over to you, Nishanth. Can you throw some light on how is technology helping you distribute better? Given that you're a D2C brand, ONDC is just about having a conversation about launching and all of that. This is Ankit, I'm guessing. Ankit, Thank you. Welcome to our session. And therefore, how is... okay, so why don't I allow Ankit to introduce himself? Thank you for joining us. And Ankit, tell us about yourself and what you do to the audience so that we could bring you into the conversation.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. First of all, really apologies for this delay. Totally unaware about the Chennai traffic and the culture of starting early. So, yeah. So, I'm Ankit Agrawal. I'm a second generation entrepreneur. And it's been almost 20 years in business. My father started this company in his garage, home garage in Indore, Madhya Pradesh in 1992. We make agarbattis, and we are one of the top 3 agarbatti companies in India by the brand Z Black, endorsed by MS Dhoni and Hrithik Roshan. We have 35 offices across India, and we export to 40 odd countries, make about 3.5 million incense sticks, 30 million incense sticks every day. And give employment to about 4,000 odd people, out of which 80% are unskilled female workers. And I get help from my younger brother in the business. That's it.
Okay. Thank you, Ankit, for joining in. Allow of you to settle down. We are currently discussing how distribution was an exclusive or the biggest differentiator for the powerhouse brands that we've seen in the country. And what we are seeing currently is that that's one area that is impacting, whether it is agarbattis or D2C brands or GEC or CPG, whichever way you look at it. And technology is really, really helping us democratize that entire play and helping more and more newer age brands to come and stake claims, right? And create a right to win for them. So I was just asking, starting from Nishanth to say, how is he looking at this and how is this an enabler? And moving forward, especially in your sector, some light on ONDC, because I think people over here are keen to understand your perspective as a D2C brand owner as to how do you look at that play opening up.
Yeah, see, I think one of the advantages of direct to consumer is, I think there is a way to do direct to consumer. I think there are 3 ways. One is the traditional way, which is what you put the distribution, put it in the supermarkets, etc., assuming the product is a supermarket product. The second is you can go to the Amazons of the world and Flipkart of the world and try to sell it through them. Third is you do everything. I think we fall under the third bucket because for us, distribution is one piece of it. The larger problem is perishable product, right? So it's like, let's say today we have 100 tons of inventory to sell, and the clock starts ticking from the time the product is reaching our stores, and we have 24 to 36 hours to sell. So that's when I said it's a very supply chain driven company. We have to be extremely accurate in our forecasting, and forecasting is everything for us. So if you look at our forecasting, we have gone into that accuracy of even understanding in which location what will sell. And second is, at least in Chennai, we have these lean days, Amavasya, Purnami and all that stuff where the sales will go down. And suddenly if there is something, so we have a 1-year calendar advance. Our team, look at all the different calendars from the Tamil calendar, Telugu calendar, different things. And then we understand, okay, these are the times where it is going to be up. These are the times where it is going to be down, because a lot of things are going to deal with religion and sentiment in our business. So I think rather than
days of the week as well. Days of the week,
for example, Sunday is where 6 times of our business happens on one Sunday, right? So Saturday and Sunday would be 45% of our business on the week, right? And if it is a Tuesday, it's a lean. Wednesday, it's up, because many people religiously follow the Wednesday being there. I hope many of you here will agree with me on that. So how do you keep this data, right? So for us, it's more than distribution, it's the availability. Because in perishable product, if you improve the availability, my dump will go up.
Right.
At the same time, if you don't improve your availability, your sales will go down. So it's going to be a double-edged situation. Right. So that's where we use technology. So I'll just give you one tidbit of how we use that. So the good part with us is we don't have to hire a market research company to understand our customers. We have all the data for our customers because we are a D2C brand. That's the first advantage. Just like he was talking about, we can understand what kind of mobile phone you're using, and we have an index to understand that, okay, if you are using a phone above 40,000 rupees or 30,000 rupees, etc. That's the exact way we can even show the product differently to each person.
Okay.
Maybe a high margin product or a premium product to somebody like that. So these are multiple things we can use to even predict the particular demand. So these are the advantages.
Okay.
Whereas in traditional as well as thing, the advantage is you are able to reach all these things. In D2C, the challenge is your customer acquisition cost will be higher.
Right.
Because you are directly getting the customer. So it's a balance between the two. From a distribution standpoint, the challenges are very different if you are truly a direct-to-consumer brand.
Right. Right. Okay. Okay. Any thoughts on the distribution play, Ankit, since you've just joined us?
Yeah, so we are a conventional product. Our majority sales come from a 10 rupee packet. And see, I feel that it all depends on product to product, which model is good for you. For us, still the conventional model of distributors and retailers plays a very important role. Someone was mentioning me 2-3 days back that India is going to be totally changed in terms of distribution, where the majority of sales would come from modern trade and e-commerce. So for me, a 10 rupee packet on e-commerce is very expensive. Even what he spoke about acquiring customer, for us, it's a very expensive proposition. For modern trade, okay. But modern trade has their own limitations in terms of real estate, in terms of location, in terms of variety. Like for agarbatti, traditional distributor would keep 200, 300 varieties of me.
Right.
Even if you like the product, need not necessarily that you come and again ask for that product. You want a new fragrance. Modern trade has a limitation to that because of their shelf space and everything. So I honestly feel that it depends from product to product, but GT is here to stay. India is a 70% of the population resides in small towns and villages, and that's where these small shopkeepers come into play, the relationship, the credit aspect, the gossips. So there are a lot many things attached to it. So I strongly, for my product, the GD would be there. It's going to stay the conventional part.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ankit. That's quite insightful. That one way we are talking about, D2C and, building the entire, direct-to-consumer experience on the back of technology. And the other hand, our colleague over here says that for me, I'm very, very clear that, GT is going to be, and for those who don't know what GT is, Ankit, please
GT is
explain
general
GT.
trade, the regular business model, the distributors. And
the regular Pan Bidi shop, all the shops that you see in the
they
market.
are the retailers and
The
serviced by a distributor who will go shop to shop and sell the product along with the company's salesperson. The technology, what you mentioned, see, I think the technology is not limited now. It's for everyone. You see this UPI, after UPI coming in, even the street vendor sitting on the ground has a Paytm scan code with him. So payment is not a problem now. It's just that the connection he might come on an app tomorrow. You never know, and he would be the fastest one to deliver the next store.
Yeah.
So it's just technology is for everyone. It will not be restricted. That's what we believe.
Thank you, Ankit. Back to you, Nishanth, on this, on the follow-up question to UPI, something that I asked you earlier. Your thoughts on ONDC and whether how will it propel D2C or some of the other brands who are kind of at the fence right now?
Sorry to interrupt. We've got 15 more minutes left, so you can plan winding up the session accordingly, gentlemen.
I'm aware. I got the slip. Thank you so much.
So can you just repeat the question?
Yeah. So like UPI, which came in and democratized the entire payment gateway in India. Okay. ONDC is now coming in from the entire e-commerce perspective, and it's going to be a common layer that people could just on and off come in and leverage. So any early thoughts on the government initiative which is getting unlocked? I think that it has a promise of its own, but I wanted a practitioner to come and give us his thoughts as to what and how are you seeing that right now?
See, I think, our friend here said, technology is democratized, right? But I think the payment is completely democratized. I mean, in fact, I was in payments business before, so I can talk about that. So what UPI did is they have built a caveat on your savings bank account. So people had the debit cards, people had that, and then you build it. So what has actually happened is there were building blocks. And somebody made that layer. So, but that building block took a long time. So if you actually go back and see, there was this government initiative where every Indian should have a bank account. So that is the building block for that. And then you put a caveat, which is UPI, right? So if you look at the evolution, at least 15 years back when I was in China, I was buying momos and paying the vendor with Alipay. Right, and I did not have even KYC. My, the staff over there said, you just install the app, you use my username and password, and it's done. So no KYC. Wow. So this was 15 years back in China, right? So this is because of the infrastructure and the mobile phones. Mobile phones have literally brought in business and even killed business. Today, the largest camera is from your phone, not the Canons of the world. Right. The scanner is non-existent because your phone cameras are so powerful that you can double down as scanners. Right. So in that way, I think that is the first thing. Now going to the second one on government initiatives, I think these building blocks are still not there. For example, if there is a grocer who is there, who is trying to put an app for thing, and he can obviously deliver faster than anybody else. But there has been tremendous amount of problem in linking the inventory to what is available. Okay. Without that building block, many times you will get an order and you will understand there is no product. Right. This is my thought, because without building block, if you build a layer, it never works. Okay. UPI is very successful because you had built it for several years. You had built the debit card, you had built the bank account, you have had the Aadhaar, you had the a mobile number linked to that. Look at all these things. It took several years. UPI was not like launched and got succeeded. Right. So without those building blocks, here I don't see the building blocks fully there, and it's not very easy, for that. So though technology is there, how to make use of that? Though data is there, how to make use of that? Right. I think that's where people should be spending time.
Such an interesting, conversation, and this is exactly the reason why I asked you. I'm just thinking, wouldn't ONDC again favor some of the biggies rather than, democratizing it? Do you feel that in the initial years, till other areas of support get developed, will it help, some of the other giants who have not entered into e-commerce and all of that? Will they be able to leverage it better?
See, I think it's an inclusive growth, right? It doesn't matter who gets the major chunk, whether that particular person did grow is what we need to look at. Okay. From that, I think it will be an inclusive one, okay. But definitely there will be some people who will take advantage of that, which I think is fine, because we are, end of the day, not socialist kind of a move, right? So here we are thinking about an inclusive growth. Right. In that, somebody will make 100x, somebody might make 10x, but doesn't matter. But is everyone growing? And then let the market figure out how things will go.
Let the market forces decide who will eventually cross the line.
Yeah,
Thank you so much, Nishanth. Very interesting, insightful. Raja, to you, how is distribution getting democratized in television?
Yeah. So my earliest memory of getting into television was in early 2000 was whenever you joined a TV company, they'd give you a book called The Cable Cowboy, which is about John Malone and how the cable industry grew in the US. Right. And in every fight between distribution and content, it is always distribution that won. I think there's this adage that if this is king, that's God and all that. So distribution has, in the traditional media, played a very important role. It was akin to an FMCG kind of model where you had this MSO DTH operator and then a clutch of local cable operators, or the Kirana store selling connection, and then the consumer in between. So it was, for the longest time for broadcasters, a B2B business.
Right.
That is changing now. Now, change in technology, thanks to Netflix in part, and that's a very interesting analogy as to how linear television broadcasters helped Netflix grow. They had no content. And Ted Sarandos in a forum like this said, I want to be HBO before HBO becomes me. So he says he used Disney's and HBO's content and grew bigger, and these guys were happy syndicating content without realizing that the grounds under them were shifting. And by the time they woke up, Netflix had figured out their own content strategy. Right. So the key point is distribution has and is shifting from this conventional model of through a cable MSO, cable operator, consumer, to a direct-to-consumer, which is what OTT is all about. Now, for a market like Tamil Nadu, where I operate, the challenges are much more, because you've got government running a significant portion of the cable business, which is Arasu cable. Then you've got this cross-holding in the forms of Sun Direct and, Sumangli cable controlling another block. Then there's one Polymer group. Then there's another news group. So there's a lot of cross-holding. So these are the challenges in distribution in the linear space for a player like us. And when you suddenly flip the opportunity in direct-to-consumer for, say, Wood Tamil, there is absolutely no entry barrier. In fact, being part of the Reliance family, Jio has 25 million consumers here. It's the largest 400 million plus broadband customers in India.
Right.
Suddenly, distribution is seemingly an opportunity for us. And as we evolve from a linear to a digital-first TV always brand, we're seeing the changing distribution landscape an opportunity for us.
Very, very incredible and very, very exciting, this entire journey. Coming to you, sir, on Double Horse, specifically asking you that, while we've heard about how technology is enabling and all of that, in relation to distribution, what's your e-commerce or a marketplace play, or what are your thoughts about it? Or are you still betting big only on the classical GT and the MT models available in the CPG space?
We have earmarked 5% as a target from our online business, which is pretty big for us. In fact, if you look at our online business, the journey that it has taken place, if you compare it with the last 5 years to now, we are growing strength to strength. Why we are growing? Because we have identified the right channels to do this online business. So the first and foremost understanding about any focus on the e-commerce business is that we have to identify the right channels to grow. And one way it becomes easy for us, because most of the time when we enter into an online site and take position there, then within few days we become the leaders of it, because our competition in that space is very less for us. So we will be ending that 5% target from our overall turnover this year only. Touch wood, that will happen. But if you look at us, the distribution for us in the channel business is basically how we reach the general trade that is classified as ISS A, B, C. That is the most important sector for us, because there is a huge opportunity that is still unused in that sector for us. So we have to reach close to 60,000 outlets. That is our aim now. So like Ankit was telling about his business, so if we can reach off of the outlets that perfume business, an agarbatti business services, that is a big success for us. As far as e-commerce is there, this is once again my personal opinion. Yes, we have to be there, but the way changes are happening, it will take automatically to the place where you want to reach. Because if you have a strong product which stands uncompromising on the quality, then definitely it will not take you to the position that you are vying for.
Very interesting point. You're saying if you have a strong product, then distribution really is just an enabler. And I think that is what we should all focus as builders of brands and marketeers. Very interesting question, and perhaps we'll enter into the last one. Ankit, amongst all the panelists over here, we want to hear your experience on the big celebrities that you tie up with, and how has that helped Z Black, Agarbatti scale new highs, or whether if at all it has helped you scaling new highs.
Yeah, so we endorsed Mahendra Singh Dhoni in 2017. And almost after 4 years, we endorsed Hrithik Roshan. So we have 2 brand ambassadors on board. And for Agarbatti company, having one A-lister brand ambassador is a big thing. Agarbatti is a very, very price-sensitive commodity. And the major thing which we focus are the BTL activities, the marketing activities like schemes, etc. Right. But having 2 brand ambassadors is something really different. But, we endorsed Hrithik Roshan Dhoni is successful, that's a proof of that, because you won't be allowed to have such big expenditure in a family-run business if you don't make a difference. So definitely the brand ambassadors have helped us. When my father was in control, I was always after him to take a brand ambassador, and he used to tell me, why don't you take a female actress from a television? Why you want to go for a big brand ambassador only? So I said, if it was a Nike, Nike would just put a right and you said, okay, so it's Nike. But, we have to make an impact in our small expenditure, the small budgets we have. So we need to have a good face. So that's what we did. We took Dhoni, and the primary agenda that we did, the primary thing that we did was putting his face on the packaging. It could go either ways also, but we put it on the packaging. We were not having very high budgets to spend because the industry is very small. And that was the first time something came in the industry. So boom, and the response was amazing. And then there's a separate category, Dhoop, which sells in North India.
Okay.
So we took a separate brand ambassador for Dhoop, that was Hrithik Roshan. And again, it gave us good results. So definitely, if you have a good, what I believe is, rather than having a brand ambassador, you should have a strategy of how to, spend in the media and how to launch, how to put him in, with the brand. So that is more important.
So more than the brand ambassador, what you do with it in media is far more critical, is the way
Obviously.
I'm hearing you say. Thank you so much. And on that note, Ankit, I want to ask you a question. And because this is a leadership series, I want to ask one leadership insight based out of your experience. When I look at you, I'm asking you a question, family-owned business or professional business? Which side would you?
So I'd like to share a small story here. I share this to everyone who asks me this. I did my family managed business from SP Jain in Bombay, which is one of the premier programs of FMBs in India. And we were 130. I passed out in 2008, joined 2006. So we were 130. We were made to sit in an auditorium in the college. And the dean came in and asked, okay, now how many of you are first generation? Though this is not the concept of our program, but how many of you are first generation? So only one person raised the hand. He was from Calcutta. How many of you are second generation? So balance 129, I think 100 people raised their hand. We are second, including me, we are second generation. Okay. How many of you are third generation? Bache ho log, the last 12, we are third generation. Fourth generation, 0. Fifth generation, 0. Anyone above this? So there was one guy again from Calcutta, coincidentally, he was from 7th generation.
My God.
So the dean told us, see, this is the situation of family managed businesses in India. Second generation, maximum third generation. So, okay, now my son, I started traveling in a sleeper class in 2003-04 when I started working. 2006, I started traveling in an airplane. 2012, I started traveling in business class. My son, born in 2014, he started traveling in business class from day one. And 2020, we were going to Almaty, and there was a business class only, but it was like a domestic business class. So he asked the air hostess, where is the TV? We don't have a TV, okay. He wanted to sleep, he was just pushing the seat. I said, what happened? Like, why is this seat not reclining? I said, that's it. So, he concept plane mein leke aaya mere ko. So this is going to happen. This is inevitable. So what I feel now, I talk to my brother a lot about this, that it's time to turn professional if you want the brand to stay. So family business, maybe for the starters, but if you are seeing your brand for the long run, you have to, get out of that zone. Okay, it's my baby. You have to get out of that zone and start transforming it into a professional business. That's what we want to do coming 5 years from now.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much. Very insightful. Nishanth, you have to match this insight with Ankit's insight through your experience.
No, I'm going to try. But see, I think my insights has been, always take a much larger problem and find if it is a painkiller or a vitamin problem. Because painkillers are easy to sell, vitamins are hard to sell. And whether you sell, agarbattis, or whether you sell, the food products, or like us, whether you sell the meat, always find that painkiller, what is that particular painkiller. So that is where I think the research is very important. I think many companies, at least I've also invested in few startups, many people don't spend time on research. They go by the gut feeling, which is fine. until you reach your first 200, 300, maybe 500 customer, depending on the scale which you are. But beyond a particular point, please understand data doesn't lie. The data is the most powerful thing which I have personally experienced, I have seen. And the first thing is always when you look at any business, whatever the business, you look at the pain point can be as simple as bringing a celebrity, because you need to cut the clutter. Let's say if your product is not perceived differently, you need to cut the clutter. That's what I think they did, which is very smart move. In our case, it was very different. When we went for a celebrity, first we wanted to say what is our brand personality. And then we defined a personality. Then we went and spoke to 1,700 customers of us with a 20 minutes conversation. We did with Kantar. And then they came back and said, oh, this is what you're perceived at. Then we went back to Lintas, who is our agency, and said, this is what we need. And who is the actor who can probably bring in? And then they said, oh, these are the actors. Then we said, oh, this budget is not there for us. And we had to probably also make the actor look, all three markets, he has to cut the clutter, right? So we went into a very data-driven decision. If you ask me, the first gut was also the same actor, which was Prakash Raj in our case, and there were two more which we did not consider. But even after doing everything, it was the same decision. But the amount of confidence you get from your gut becoming reality, that will boost the entire thing. So I think I would only leave two thoughts. One is finding the problem statement is very critical. So whether you sell painkillers or vitamin, painkiller is easy sales. I mean, they will come and buy. Just like I think he was also saying the best product says.
Right.
Best product is it has to be there, in my view, right? It has to be there. And we need to keep improving the product. But how do you communicate that painkiller, message is going to be the next big thing. And for that, you need to start getting a lot of data.
Right.
So these are the two thoughts I would leave with.
Okay. Beyond the point, data doesn't lie is a take home that I'm going to take today.
Yeah.
Right?
Data does not lie.
Does not lie. Not beyond the point.
Not beyond the point. From day one, it doesn't lie.
Doesn't lie. Okay. Yeah, Raja, tell us.
So, yeah, on the question on brand, my belief from the business that we are in, general entertainment channel is defined by the shows that we put out or the products we make.
Right.
So, brand is just a sum total of the shows that we do. And this, again, this adage which they tell you when you join this industry, that people watch shows and not channel.
People want stories and not logos on the side.
Not go further. So the learning for us is your characters, your protagonists are going to be your brand ambassadors. You should have a brand proposition. You should communicate it. You should be distinct. And it should resonate through your storylines. So if you see all the promotional material, you will find all our protagonists standing up for what we... And coincidentally, there have been shows that we've won where we've had celebrities being part of the show, not because they're a celebrity, because their personal lives represent the values which the channel stands for. So that's my belief on brand in the context.
Thank you, Raja. Storytelling, characters, and creativity is going to define the next generation of television viewing. Over to you, sir. One leadership insight, if you want to tell us. We are almost done, but I mean, since I've asked everyone, I would not want to kind of leave that. I think we've kind of crossed our time, but yeah, leadership insight from you as well.
Thank you for being very patient. So quickly, I would say that what happens to a brand, especially a brand like us that has been in business for so long, is that there is an aspiration that subconsciously created to achieve for that brand. So most of the plans work out as per that aspiration. So as Mr. Nishanth rightly pointed out, we should definitely have aspiration, but we should also understand what is the reality of that brand. Then everything else follows based on that. And that reality can be understood only with the data that is available. Yes, definitely there is an emotional connect to it, no doubt about it. But most of the time, we have to take our decisions based on the data. Because ours was a family-run business very recently, till recently. And most of the decisions have been taken on gut feeling, not on the data that has been present. And we have very wrongly created an image for us that we are a premium brand. Now today, I will owe all the growth that has been happening to the brand based on the fact that we started believing in data and we have been doing things that is against the traditional way of doing things. So that was helped with the data. So end of the day, you need to have definitely emotional quotient, but the IQ has to be even more stronger. That is what I would like to say.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, every one of you. It was wonderful chatting up with you. Thank you so much to the audience. You've been extremely patient and bearing with us to listen to us through and through. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
I request everyone to please stay back for a picture. We'll now have a picture clicked of all our panelists. So thank you so much, gentlemen, for the very insightful discussion on leadership skills and leadership on the whole. I'm sure all of you found it very interesting and very appealing, I believe. A big round of applause to all our panelists today. Thank you so much. Please stay back, gentlemen. Please stay back. I would request a few dignitaries to join these gentlemen on stage, please. Please come back to the seat, please. I request you all to come back to the stage. We will have a few dignitaries join them. I would request Mr. S. Divakar, the business head, News First Kannada, to come up on stage, please. And also I request Dr. Kailash Katkar, Mrs. Anupama Katkar, Mr. Anil Airur, Group CEO, Insight Media, to join them. Mr. Rachit Tiwari, NDTV, will also join them on stage. Mr. Chidambaram Natesan, Head of Business, AHA Tamil, will also join them. And also, last but not least, we have Mr. Johnson, the MD of Satya Agencies, joining them on stage. And also, I would like to call upon stage Mr. Vinod Vasant from Vasant & Go Group to join them. I request our dignitaries to felicitate our panelists. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Thank you. I request Mr. S. Divakar, the business head, News First Kannada, to felicitate and order Dr. Sanjai George. Thank you so much, sir. I request Dr. Kailash Katkar and Mrs. Anupama to jointly honor Mr. Nishanth Chandran, the founder and CEO of GFM Retail Private Limited. Can we cheer up for our panelist? Yeah, thank you so much. Mr. Anil Airur, the Group CEO, Insight Media, Flowers TV, will now honor Mr. Ankit Agrawal, Partner and Director, Mysore Perfumery House. Mr. Rajaraman Sundaram will be now honored by Mr. Rachit Tiwari and Mr. Chidambaram Natesan. Last but not the least, Mr. Amin Lakhani, the CEO of Mindshare South Asia, will be honored by Mr. Johnson and Mr. Vinod Vasant. Mr. Johnson, the MD of Satya Agencies, and Mr. Vinod Vasant from Vasant & Co have recently joined us. Welcome to the event, sir. Thank you so much. We will now have a short commercial break and resume in another few minutes. Thank you.